Hi, and welcome to our presentation on mastering the migration, bridging the gap for a smooth LMS transition during a campus alignment. On the agenda today, we will have introductions for our team. Do migration options exist? What belongs where in the LMS and why? What is the best path for onboarding? And how do we maintain a connection? My name is Addie Sweet, and I am a senior support specialist at Purdue University. I work with the consulting and training team, and I'm frontline support for faculty. I mostly manage ticket submissions regarding the LMS and other related tools, but I also have some consults. I was part of the Purdue Indianapolis transition team where I managed account creation requests, comparable tool transitions, and tickets related to Brightspace support. I'm going to hand it off to Adam.
Hello, everybody. Like Addie said, I'm Adam Hagan. I'm a senior educational technology consultant, and I work with the faculty both at West Lafayette and in Indianapolis. And the Purdue Indy transition was one of my summer tasks. So, with that, I will kick it over to Tori.
Thanks, Adam. I'm Tori Hart, and I'm an educational technology consultant. I work with supporting faculty at both West Lafayette and Indianapolis, and was actually on maternity leave during the transition last July. So I helped with preparatory trainings for the transition, and then I came back to support faculty as they were working with new technology in their courses.
And I'm Ben Holmes. I'm an ed tech consultant on the team as well. And I sort of led the little team that did faculty support for the Indianapolis location. And so I've been here since the beginning, which I guess was in 2023. Okay, so to start off, we wanted to give you a little bit of background. Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, which you'll probably hear us refer to as IUPUI, was an institution founded in 1969 as a partnership between Purdue and Indiana University, which we'll probably refer to as IU. In 2022, it was announced that these two universities would split in Indianapolis to become two independent institutions in that city, with the split to be completed by fall 2024, and that would be the first semester for the new Purdue University in Indianapolis and the new Indiana University in Indianapolis. And we knew very little going into this, but it became clear that there were going to be about 100 to 200 faculty who were going to transition from IUPUI to Purdue University. And these were, faculty who were, in a sense, losing their home institution. And so our challenge was to welcome them to Purdue and provide the support that they needed to teach. Another challenge that we had is that IUPUI or IU and Purdue have two very different tool sets of instructional tools and two very different sets of processes and policies. And these things are mostly unknown to the IUPUI faculty who are transitioning to Purdue. And some of the support would come from support staff that were already in Indianapolis, but some of it would have to come from West Lafayette as we helped to stand up this new institution. So those were sort of the challenges that we set out to solve. And with that, I will pass it over to Adam.
All right. So as Ben already alluded to, we really were kind of working with two different systems underneath the same roof. And with the transition, we no longer had that. But previously, it was actually IU that maintained the infrastructure, the ed tech, a lot of the tools that the faculty were using. So one of the first things that we needed to do when we started to plan out potential migrations was just identifying what third-party tools are the faculty actually using. Because we can transfer or transition a lot of stuff, but if there's no true use case that is going to be switching to the other side of the house, well, then we really don't have to worry about that component. So in this assessment, it's just not identifying, okay, what was previously available in the open environment, which they will not truly have access to anymore because it was maintained by IU. But do we, Purdue, offer the same tools? And then what questions come out of that? So in the case that we do have the same tool, what does it look like when we talk about moving their content? Is that something seamless? I mean, if it's a third-party app that is integrated, with both LMSs, do the usernames match? Is it just a matter of going ahead and putting that into the appropriate course? And if there's previous content that also needs to be moved over, is that something that we can do? Is that an expectation of the faculty who have access to said content? And if so, what kind of workload and expectations are we really trying to get out of them? Because we all know that the faculty are extremely busy people. And then in a few cases, we also tried to identify whether or not there was any help that we could get from vendors, whether that was a mass migration, which required funding, or if it was something that a vendor could do as one-off with their own individual relationships with the faculty members. And so just all of these had to be identified. And across the board, it was not a uniform, oh, we found it, this is a silver bullet. It could be one tool could be wildly different. So again, if you ever find yourself in this situation, it's something that definitely warrants a lot of conversation and a lot of deep thought. Now, in the case that we do not have the same tool, do we offer anything that is a quote unquote alternative that we support centrally? Now, a part of that, if we do have, okay, tool X does roughly the same thing as tool Y, what are we looking at for training time? I mean, are they close enough in the way that they function that the faculty can just kind of get through it on their own? Or is it something that is wildly different and it's going to be like Greek to them? And so you have to be able to factor in that training time and then also identify, okay, what is that training going to look like? And Tori and Addie are going to talk about that a little later in the presentation. So, all right. And then the monster standing in the corner of the room that nobody wants to acknowledge, but everybody knows it's there. What are we going to do about the LMS? And it's not exactly an easy question to answer. And it really raises more questions as you go down the rabbit hole. So first and foremost, what migration options are actually on the table? And, is this something, once again, that we're going to expect the faculty to do for themselves? Are there tools that we can provide to try to make that easier? But then, kind of behind the scenes, if we do offer different migration options for their course sites and content that they had in the previous LMS for years, is there a uniform approach that is going to work best for everybody? And the easy answer to that is not necessarily. It's one of those typical, it depends. They might not even need some of that content anymore. And it might be easier for them just to build from scratch. But it's really got to be tailored to that faculty member and what is practical given a very short time span. And then, will all of the LMS content transfer? Believe it or not, if you're working in one LMS now and you were working in another one, there's no guarantee that they're going to play, I'll just say, well together. There's certain things that they can become small children and they're just kicking each other's ankles because it's like, you're going to do it my way. And the other one is going to strongly disagree with that. But you do have to figure out what will transfer, what won't. And then if it won't, what is your approach going to be? To try to get that out of the old system, get it into the new one. And then also, where does it go? Like, I mean, is there a central hopper? Again, is there a quote unquote uniform approach? All content will go into this area in the new LMS, or all third-party tools will be added like this. And again, am I kind of alluding to that too from the previous slide? What about those third-party tools? And then does there have to be involvement from a vendor, from the faculty member, from us as support staff? You have to answer all of those questions. And then another big one that a lot of people don't think about is that when you're coming from, again, one side of the house, what are we going to do with the usernames? I already kind of talked about that with some of the third-party tools. Do they map appropriately? I mean, is it going to be seamless and they're just going to be able to get into it? Or is this something where you've got to give some thought to what needs to be tweaked with these accounts to make sure that things can now be accessed within the new system? So,
Thanks, Adam. I'm going to be focused on this first slide, talking through some of the challenges in onboarding that we found through this process. These really boil down to remote support and technical challenges. And on the next slide, we'll look at how we've maintained that support since the transition. But here we'll talk through some of the landscape that we were coming into and how we best adapted to fit those pretty unique sets of needs. Biggest challenge for us to overcome is our team has been remote since the pandemic in 2020. West Lafayette support is remote, and Indy joining would have that same support means available. This was a big shift from what faculty were accustomed to. As Adam explained a few minutes ago, IUPUI operated as two systems under the same roof. It was IU actually who was responsible for maintaining the ed tech and tools that faculty were using. The support looked different than what Purdue was going to be offering moving forward with the split. Getting faculty ready for that transition in fall of 2024 required making them aware of what support actually looks like and how they best contact and utilize that support. As a remote group, our support is largely done through our ticketing system, virtual consults, and workshops that we offer. So it required doing some retraining for faculty on how to access those resources. And we also began customizing them to virtual workshops by offering a series through the spring of 2024 that broke the LMS down for them and gave them an overview of what their new supported toolbox looks like. Speaking on technical challenges, the biggest and most glaring was that these were new tools for faculty to use. Getting them used to these new tools in time to teach with them in the fall required holding training sessions and making ourselves available to answer questions and meet these faculty members where they were. Initially, we provided both virtual and in-person sessions so that faculty members could start to put names to faces, start to recognize who our team is, how we can help, how we fit into the landscape of this new Purdue venture. Another challenge was waiting actually for accounts to be created. We had to be creative in how we approached some of our trainings, especially as we waited for accounts to be created for faculty members who were continuing on with Purdue Indianapolis. We couldn't operate on the assumption that faculty could access these tools, but instead needed to keep some of our sessions more broad and give them an understanding of how it works in relation to what they're used to. The best solution that we found for both of these technical challenges was to approach training in a piece-by-piece way. Rather than forcing them to attend day-long sessions that train them on the LMS, we provided a series of workshops that introduced them slowly to the parts that they would use the most. Their whole job was changing, the institution was changing, so giving them a slower welcome to the new LMS and our additional tools gave us a way of providing that information without overwhelming them as users. On the next slide, we're going to talk a little more about how we've maintained this relationship since the initial transitions. I'm going to hand it over to Addie to discuss some virtual options that we've had for ongoing support, and then we'll talk about some opportunities that have continued for in-person support.
We use a ticketing system that's called Team Dynamics, and this is an area where we can respond to faculty virtually and provide assistance, answer any questions that they might have, and provide training. Throughout our migration, we encouraged all of Purdue Indianapolis faculty to send an email to our team, which then generates a ticket and it goes directly to our group within Team Dynamics. This became a huge part of the migration process, as faculty had several questions regarding account creation, migration from one LMS to another, and any entry-level Brightspace questions. This ticketing system allows our entire team to work with faculty at any given time. From here, we're able to provide training resources, migration instructions, and connect with consultants for further consults if the question was a bit more complex regarding a specific tool. This allowed us to have great rapport and trust with faculty, ensuring that they knew we were here to help. Within the ticketing system, we also are able to provide resources such as our documentation page that easily answers many of the questions that faculty have regarding Brightspace and other related tools. Our documentation page provides a comprehensive walkthrough of our most commonly asked questions so that faculty can self-service and have the resources on hand for future reference. I want to show you a little bit of our documentation page. This is our Purdue Brightspace documentation, and within this page we have several different topics such as assignments, course content, course admin, grades, quizzes, and beyond. Faculty can come access this at any time and get a lot of questions that they might have answered very easily without having to rely on us to answer their questions. So we've put a lot of work into curating this to our most commonly asked questions. And if you open one of these up, such as how do I adjust final grades in Brightspace, you will see that we have many video walkthroughs. But in addition to the video walkthrough, we also have written out the steps to answer the question. And with that, we have pictures and screen captures so that it's easy to follow for faculty. Within this same page, we also have a tab at the top called Workshops and Training. Here, faculty can come access our daily drop-in help sessions. And in addition to that, we also have content from our previous workshops that faculty might have missed or not been able to attend. This is a great resource for faculty to access if they got too busy on, say, 8/14, they were getting ready to start their first class at Purdue, and they just didn't have time to join this session. They can come back and watch it at a later time, which has been an excellent resource for faculty to reference. This is especially important in our onboarding process because we tailored many of the workshops specifically for Purdue Indianapolis faculty on important topics like Canvas to Brightspace and features within courses such as assignments, content, quizzes, discussions. So this has been a key factor for onboarding and transitioning during our migration process.
Addie listed a lot of the ways that we've been offering ongoing support where instructors have the opportunity for almost a self-service approach. They can submit tickets, look at our documentation, watch our recorded session, all of which can be done at times that are most convenient for them. But as they're working in Brightspace or trying out some of the rest of the toolbox, we know questions come up or some hands-on help can be beneficial. To support with this, we offer virtual drop-in sessions on a daily basis. These came about as a result of remote work during the pandemic, and because they're popular with our West Lafayette faculty, they've remained a core piece of our offering and have been expanded to include Indianapolis faculty. These sessions are held every day at different times to try to offer an option to everyone. No appointments needed. Faculty can simply jump into our Zoom call and be matched in a breakout session with an ed tech consultant who can answer questions. All of our ed techs are FERPA certified, so instructors can feel safe sharing their screen and getting really individualized support. Beyond this, we offer options for workshops. At different points in the semester, we'll offer targeted workshops that are designed to help onboard new faculty to Brightspace or support end of semester gradebook needs. Sometimes these are driven by updates made to Brightspace where we design a presentation that introduces faculty to new features or updates in the user interface. Departments who have needs that extend beyond that have the option of requesting a custom workshop from us. They can let us know if they'd like us to design it for virtual or in-person delivery, and we can tailor the content to fit their needs. Sometimes these are focused on introducing instructors to various tools in the supported toolbox, but it gives them an opportunity to request the support that they need in the medium that best suits their needs. Overall, we understand that support is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Moving forward with this new setup, we're continuing to take in feedback and provide support in ways that suit all of our faculty, regardless of their location. And then to wrap us up, we're going to go back to Ben.
Thanks, Tori. In our conclusion here, I wanted to go back to how we started, which was posing a lot of the questions that you need to be thinking about if you're doing a transition like this. So I'll give you some details on how we handled some of the technical side that you may have been thinking about from the start of the presentation. So on the technical side, we actually did a tool set mapping. where we looked at all of the tools that IU provided and all of the tools that Purdue provided, and we looked at the gaps between the two tool sets, and individually looked at the transition plans for each of those tools. And as Adam talked about, we didn't dig into things that weren't being used. We looked at the things that were really high impact first. But that's how we planned out how the migration would go. In terms of the LMS, we created a homegrown migration tool, faculty self-serve, where they could upload packages that would then be ingested into Brightspace. And part of that was, the work that we put in to create that migration tool, but part of it was Brightspace's ability to handle the course packages that were produced by the original LMS. We ended up migrating hundreds of courses through that method. We also migrated video assets. And as Tori talked about, user accounts were a big issue because it took a while for those accounts to come through. And we actually, for migrating video assets, we had to do a manual username mapping. So we took it piece by piece, and the outcome after all of that deliberation and all of the support that Tori and Addie talked about is that we had several thousand course sections and somewhere between 500 and 1,000 actual courses delivered in fall 2024. Our ticket volume and our attendance at virtual drop-in sessions was pretty high during that fall semester. But we saw it go down during spring 2025, which is what we hoped for. We see that as an indication that the faculty are onboarded, that they have what they need. And of course, we're working to maintain those relationships and make sure that we continue providing the support that they need. And, we see the transition period as ending, and we're moving towards ongoing support. And so as our last slide here, I wanted to give you the opportunity to contact us if you have questions. We'd be happy to chat if anyone out there is heading into a project like this. Our email addresses are there on screen, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.